Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Today, we're going to be talking about when did someone in your group inflict emotional damage on the rest of the party. Oh yeah, you want to get some emotional damage going? Go watch John Wick. Our story would have to be from our fight against Xanathar, which gave multiple party members the chance to inflict additional emotional damage on top of the damage our characters received in the fight. The best available, selfless goody-two-shoes that we are, ended up making a commitment to the people of Skullport to rid their town of the Xanathar's guild. A lot of personal storyline threads were advanced, but then we reached the evil floating eyeball itself. Our silver dragon, which name I'm going to butcher, it's called Neil, but I read it as Neil Darustens. Oh god, I messed that up horribly. Went down after a brutal fight in the air. Our brave little heron-gone wizard, Tobias, managed to land a couple of solid spell hits. Tobias's dream was to become the greatest wizard. Just as fiery and passionate as ever, he gave Xanathar everything he had, calling out to him, "Remember the name Tobias III First, fiend, for I will wring it from your lips with your dying breath." Sadly, those were his last words. He immediately took a massive hit from a couple of the enraged Xanathar's eye beams in retaliation, including the deadliest of all the Beholder's nasty tricks, the Disintegrate Ray. He was gone. Just ash, and his precious hat remaining where he stood. Torxina, who'd been hit by the Beholder's petrifying ray, selflessly chose to shoot one last guiding bolt into the bloodied Xanathar, hoping to prevent any further deaths instead of giving herself advantage on her saving throw. Well, she failed it and turned to stone, but her guiding bolt slew the monster, a genuine non-fudged mutual kill, the like of which our DM hadn't seen in years. But most importantly, we've literally changed the world by slaying one of the greatest villains of the Forgotten Realms. This achievement was so momentous, its results will persist through all future Forgotten Realms games by the Forever DM. But at what cost? Hadari, who has a penchant for scribbling "Hadari was here, Hadari was here" everywhere the party went, honored the diminutive wizard by writing in the ashes, "Tobias was here." He also took a small pouch of them so that he could always have his friend with him. When Torxina was brought back from being petrified, she was still distraught over not having been able to save Tobias. She wanted to do something more to honor him, and a few weeks later, we discovered what she had done. In our group's treasure room, there's a life-sized marble statue of Tobias, his hat resting atop it. At the base is a plaque, which reads, "In memory of Tobias III First, who died as he lived. In our hearts, he truly was the greatest wizard in the world. Farewell, Tobias. You will be missed, dear friend." I would like to say that I was involved with the plot twist that caused the emotional damage. However, it's too good to pass up telling. My character had been kidnapped as a child and was sold to a cult. The cult were worshipping an artifact that had hidden powers. It was my character's turn to be the sacrifice. He was brought forward and, in pure desperation, managed to escape. Using only a dagger, he took on the cultists and just barely managed to survive. He left, but not without his share of scars. When he left, he shed everything that tied him to his old life, including his name. He took up the name Thunderblood. Several years later, Thunderblood meets the party, and off on adventures they go. They kill large beasts, topple governments, stand against a horde of demons, and so much more. This is all while fighting against an unseen force and its generals. However, there was a hidden secret that Thunderblood was determined to take to his grave. The artifact had in fact been opened in the fight to escape the cultist's lair. The artifact had created a much crueler version of the boy. Now this version prowled the land in search of a man named Talon. This version lived off of the memories of Thunderblood's past that have been hidden for so long. One secret in particular would devastate the group. Not long before the final stretch of the campaign, the party encountered the cruel version. The other version was not, in fact, the cruel part, but the innocence lost in the lair. The version had attempted to tell the truth and had almost succeeded, but Thunderblood had landed a killing blow, thus stopping the truth from ever being revealed. As the party approached the fortress, the rogue noticed that Thunderblood was acting strange. The group are a bit suspicious as well. They fight their way through the fortress, felling general after general, until they eventually reach the last known general's room. Now this was my time to shine. You see, the big bad evil guy had always known where they were, their weaknesses, the status of the group who had died, what mission they were doing, their goals, etc. The big bad evil guy knew everything. The rogue had figured there must have been a leak, a mole in the group, but who was it? And why was the room empty? The party did not expect to see the one party member that had listened to their woes, their fears, been there for them in their darkest of times, and sacrificed so much, walk forward and sit in the general's chair. This general was known to be the cruelest of them all, their crimes too heinous to list. The general that was set up to be a mighty battle and one that might be the end of the party. That general was in fact Thunderblood. The party who had spent so long with him were devastated. The tension in the room was thick. You could almost see the anger in them. Everything to them made sense. It made sense as to why Thunderblood was often left unscathed, and why, when they negotiated with the foot soldiers, Thunderblood was the one to do it. And then Thunderblood revealed to them that he was in fact called Talon, the last general. Finally having the courage to ask, the Blood Hunter asked why. And all Talon had to say was, "With the cards that fate's cruel and apathetic hand had dealt me, what else could you have done? Through my own eyes I have seen the truth of this world. The gods have abandoned us. The throne room of the gods is empty. We were to fill it. I am meant to be a god. I am meant to help purge this world of the filth and the parasitic vermin that plague it. This was my purpose. This was my destiny, and fate's cards had shown me the way." Talon is now silent and sit quietly. "I am sorry it ends this way. For what it is worth, you're good heroes. But this is the wrong time for you." After a long and epic battle, they kill him. With his last breath, he says, "Thank you for showing me my mistakes. You will always be my family." Talon had grown to care for them and showed them this in his last moments. It definitely took a toll on the others, but it was the most fun I ever had. You know it's going to be good when the entire story starts off with, "Oh dear Lord." Oh dear Lord, I just had one from this past weekend's GURPS session. For context, one of our players, we'll call him Joe for anonymity's sake, was part of another campaign that used a homebrew subsystem to represent a semi-unique superpower. And his character, Alterous Ishin, had the personality of Sora from Kingdom Hearts, and a superpower that made him essentially a living sun. His main use case was manipulating his body to stretch and escape things. Joe referred to it as being a wiggly boy. There was another character, Grayfield Cortez, who used a whistle to provide buffs to all allies within earshot. He was fun too. So, fast forward to this campaign. Our GM puts us up against a boss fight in a realm that we're inclined to need to revisit. What we find in there is a hostile world with a sad AU version of Alterous. I promptly called it alterous. We were all somewhat stunned when we realized this alterous was our boss fight. Even more so when we realized he wasn't using his wiggly boy shenanigans. Instead, he was using Grayfield's whistle. Uh-oh. We were all scared because this particular superpower meant the minions in the fight were getting buffed repeatedly. But Joe saw this fight and the implication that we'd be returning, and immediately realized the major boss fights in this hostile world are against sad versions of Alterous. I could hear the shock and rage in his voice. So, the time I killed off a PC because her player lost interest and wasn't sure what to do. During an important meeting Norskan Jarls, there was an attack on present Jarls and the Queen. One PC, half-elf by the name of Charsapur Bolin, the Honest, helped to defend the main hall. Meanwhile, another PC, a dark elf by the name of Naris, and an NPC dark elf by the name of Corinna, had managed to capture one of the attackers. However, unknown to everyone but Naris's player, one of the attackers carried a poison blade, so by the time the reveal came, Naris was already on the floor after suddenly collapsing, dying. Despite Char's best efforts, she died while getting help. Her last words being, "Help me, Char, I don't want to die. I don't." It sent the half-elf into a spiral of anger and sadness. At least Char was happy that she had learned empathy by the end and that her death wasn't meaningless, as they had clues on where to go next. A character from way before I joined the campaign, Remy was a teacher at a magical university before it became the heart of the Blighted Lands, a plague point that traumatized this character for life. After quite a while of a deep, dark depression, in comes a new character. This plucky young Minotaur has a passion for mechanics and wants to thoroughly learn magical means to his machinery. Actually, not a full artificer at the time, oddly. He was a multi-class between Beastheart. Ooh, fancy! Now this character, Terrobrum, wanted to give people in the homebrew world an easy means to the skies, but magic was always beyond his reach. Naturally, hearing that the little Jerbeen was in league with artificers, Terrobrum wanted more than anything to learn from him, but didn't know how to ask. Eventually, while on board a ship traveling to a war zone, he finally got the nerve to ask the question to be taught the basics of casting a real spell. Not just a crude mimicry through technology, oh no. And on that ship, he was taught to truly feel for magic. But it turned out to still be a technological crutch by mistake. He had forgotten to remove his gauntlet, which was Magitech. This made Remy feel dejected, thinking that his teaching didn't truly work and that he almost had a student again. On landing ashore, Terrobrum furiously cast aside the gauntlet and asked Remy firmly, "Teach me to truly cast that spell," of which was mending. Remy found a tent cloth of olive green and had him cast the spell on the torn fabric. It took a short while of trying, but they eventually got it and truly cast their first magical spell after trying for a lifetime, up to 33 years at the time. And Remy? Well, Remy truly got to be a magic teacher again. This continued for a long time in the campaign, too. Naturally, the moment was captured in fine graphite as I actually drove all the way out to the beach to complete it with proper inspiration. And this was that casting. Oh my god, it's so cute. So I, Wizard, and our Barbarian have been getting close and joking around a lot with one another, which escalated to light flirting in a situation where my Wizard and an NPC Wizard, Elomir, have both been hinting at having feelings for them. One day, we are tasked with clearing out some bandits and corner them in the hideout. Keep in mind that Elomir has twice so far casted haste on our Barbarian and lost concentration in one turn, leaving them unable to move, which they were very annoyed with. So we fight them for a bit and I am badly hurt. The rest of the bandits are in the next room. But I don't want to move forward because I am close to bleeding out. Our Barbarian is about to lose their last rage and can't make it to the remaining bandits in time, so I, realizing that I will be useless this turn, decide to stab the Barbarian with a dagger to keep the rage up for them. I miss, but they are extremely startled and looked betrayed, understandably, as a potential love interest just tried to stab them. Then Elomir casts haste on him, which he then immediately loses concentration on before the next round of combat, stunning the Barbarian when it drops. We ended up routing the rest of the bandits, but at the end of the fight, Elomir and I spent the rest of our time trying to comfort him and apologize for what we did. I then gave him a ring of free action, which he took as a marriage proposal and asked me, "Why
Are you proposing to me after you just tried to stab me?
We all had a good laugh after that one, but hey,
a good marriage starts with a light stabbing.
My character, Eric Shadeson, was not much more than a petty thief. He would have died one day had he not met the love of his life, who pulled him away from a life of crime to form a family. One day he was awoken by someone breaking in and sees a vampire holding her still body. He tries to fight the vampire, but ends up held up by the throat, dying. As his vision fades, the last thing he sees is the horror on his son's face as he turns to run. He awoke on the side of a river, covered in blood and unable to touch the running water. Forcibly converted into a vampire, the only thing he cared about was finding his sight and killing, and finding a cure for his vampirism. After some time, the party is taking a rest after a mission, and he doesn't detect someone breaking in. Said person shoots him in the chest with a stake, rendering him paralyzed. From the corner of his vision, Eric can see his son as the rest of the party is roused. He hears him say, "He has to die! He killed my mom!" Eric then realized that he doesn't remember much between seeing his son and waking up by the river. Nor does he know how he got covered in his blood, his beloved that he loved with everything he had, the light of his life, whom he had spent so much time trying to avenge. He did it. He had killed her in a blind, blood-starved rage. He killed the person who saved him. The campaign ended before he got a definitive answer for what actually happened. His sire refused to be open about anything that happened, preferring to mess with Eric's mind. But there were no traces of memory-altering magic on Eric's son's mind. The DM refuses to tell me, but Eric was sure it was him. Well, gotta respect the long con, am I right? Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and of course, if you got something that'll emotionally damage your party or that has already, please leave it in the comments below. Until then, don't be emotionally damaged yourself. We love you all, we know it's tough out there, and we're always here for you. Be safe, and we'll see you next time.